Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first Type Thursday book club. So excited to have you be here with us today. The purpose of the book club is a chance for found members of Type Thursday to come together once a week, review a design book. We've done a secret blind review. We haven't seen each other's reviews and ratings of the book, and discourse and talk with each other about letter forms that we love. I'm Thomas Jockin. I'm the founder of Type Thursday. I have here Michael from Type Thursday Phoenix and Matheo from Type Thursday Los Angeles. I'm very excited to talk with everybody today. So what is Type Thursday? Type Thursday is a meeting place for people who love type. We started in 2010, and we've had chapters all around the world, and we currently also have these chapters in Phoenix and Los Angeles. Love to have you join us at our monthly meetups. I believe we have them coming up in 2 weeks. So our very first book club, we're going to be reading Martina Flor's The Golden Secrets of Lettering. The format of the book, we'll do first a summary of our understanding of the book for all three of our points of view. We'll then move on to a rubric of rating on 5 categories that we agreed to beforehand. We do not know what any of us rated each other's work or rated the book. And we're going to then have a discussion at each interval using a 5-star rating system. So to get started, I'll start first with a summary. Golden Secrets of Lettering is a very polished portfolio forward 2010s lettering demonstration book centered on well-drafted letter forms and composition and client ready finish. It's less about where lettering is going, but more about a very highly polished professional snapshot of lettering in the 2010s, my personal assessment. Michael, you can start with your review next.
Sure.
Summary, that is.
Summary. So one of the things that I came into this book, knowing that it would be about lettering, but I also learned really quickly the difference between lettering and making typefaces. And this is a book about making lettering specific, and that's something that I've been doing for a long time, and making title treatments. And I love it when I see it in chalk drawings, when I see it in other forms out in the world, book covers. And I think that this is one of the books to go to when it comes to lettering. And Martina Flor is just outstanding in demonstrating her skills and her talents in teaching.
Thank you, Michael. Matteo, your summary of the book.
I think that Martina Flor, you did a wonderful job putting together the Golden Secrets of Lettering. I feel so inspired after looking at this. There's such a good overview. And to what Michael said as well, I learned very quickly there's a difference between lettering and calligraphy and typography and type design. And I hadn't had anyone really make that clear to me in this way before. So it's very helpful in that regard. Really appreciate all the wonderful ephemera that you put together as well. I think there's just a lot of great sources of inspiration in this book. And you definitely, from my opinion, won't be disappointed. So with that, let it back to you, Thomas.
Thank you. So let's go over now the rubric of the book club. So we agreed to before we started reviewing, and it's been on the screen this whole time. We have 5 categories. First is clarity of concepts. How clear are the concepts? Is it clear? Is it direct? I'm going to zoom in a little bit. How clear are the ideas and arguments and how they explained? Visual inspiration is the strength and originality of the visual material. Practical application, usefulness for teaching or professional practice. Typographic insight, the depth of typographic thinking, if applicable. And overall impact, the lasting relevance and influence of this book in the design field. So with that said, again, we do not know what any one of us rated. So this is the first, so both live, we're going to see what happens. So Michael, if you could swap us over to the Figma, we can get started, the Fig Jam. And since I'm leading the show for this episode, I will start with my settings. I would say in clarity of concept, I'm giving this solid 4 out of 5. I think the ideas are very clear, and it's very clear, very high polish. But I would say explanation is generally secondary. when concepts do appear, they're often ad hoc, which is I'm very understandable of that. I've dealt with this problem before professionally teaching, meaning like you just come up, you have to explain something on the spot. It isn't like you pre-thought systematically how you're talking about some things, but which are anchored in Martina's personal experience professionally, which I think is very insightful and important. But that's just, I think that is a note that slightly hinders the clarity of concepts a little bit, in my opinion. Cool. Michael, you're next to vote.
Okay. Let me pull this over. My score, oops. Oh my gosh.
Whoa, you scaled up.
It did scale up. Let me move this over. There we go. I'm going with 4.5. And, you know, one of the reasons why that I love this book is it was, you know, very easy to read, but also very easy to digest as far as knowledge goes. Now, I have a background in, you know, graphic design, lettering, and I think that fundamentally, if you didn't have a drawing skills, that you may absorb these a little bit slower. But it's a very easy book to go through and understand these concepts. And if you're an enthusiast, you're going to love it. But if you're also just starting, maybe that is a little thing to overcome, that you might have to learn how to make letter forms and how to make shapes and how to make these other things. So, but 4.5 is my star rating here. So Matteo, you're next.
Yeah, this has been really awesome to hear you guys go in about the clarity of concepts, because I had the same feelings and thoughts. So I'm bringing myself in, and I was really teetering on this one, but I think I'm going to land myself right at a 4, because the clarity of concepts throughout this book, it really felt like there was a few areas where I wanted more from Martina. I was like, oh, this is really great, but if I didn't have the background from the Type Thursdays and talking to the community, I would be missing a lot of context that is already being assumed that I have, as well as the sketching. Something where even where I do have a lot of the background, I wanted more on the 3D, how to create 3D lettering. And it felt kind of just brushed over. Great examples, but I just wanted more maybe practical steps. Like with the calligraphy, there was this sort of rehearsable exercise that was provided. I felt like that would have been nice for the 3D and some other concepts that were shown throughout the book.
Great. Now we have 1 minute to discuss. Sounds like we have general consensus. I think the main issue is it's a book that presumes a lot of background knowledge to be useful, and this is always a tension of design books. It's like, which one we talk. Obviously, we're all professionals, right? We've all been in the field for a very long time. So it's like, it's always a balancing act of our assessment of the book in terms of where we're at professionally, and if this was a total beginner, right? And I think the assessments of everyone in the room is generally kind of a balancing about that where it's probably like a tension a little bit of how much do you need background knowledge to use this book to be actually useful. It's very condensed with a lot of information. Any thoughts? Anything to share?
Go ahead, Matteo.
Oh, yeah. Thomas, you hit all of the thoughts that I was having, because it feels like there's a good breadth of concepts that are covered very quickly and visually. But if I didn't have the years of background already, I would feel sort of lost, floating on like, how do I get to solid land here? And would need to just keep probably reading more into each of these specific areas. So I felt like it was a good overview of a lot of the information there. But even on the lettering stuff, I was like, okay, I want there to be more specific examples and practices that I can follow along here. But one thing that Martina does a really amazing job of with this is she provides the website where you can go and download some practical exercises. And I think that's where the supplemental learning comes in. But I felt like I wanted to see that maybe more of those in exemplars or sort of practice sheets or practical step-by-steps, breaking down these lettering concepts. That would have strengthened it for me, you know?
Yeah. Michael, any thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I agree. And looking in this, I'm a super enthusiast when it comes to branding and letter forms. And so for me, I was, you know, just a pot of gold. looking at it and the way that it's presented. And most everything in here is hand drawn. And I think that that's also an exciting thing too in this age of AI, where creating things are getting away from being handmade; they're more being text made. And so, like, literally, it's refining this process. So seeing what that takes, but also seeing what the rules are and seeing what how you can be better.
Okay. All right, move on. Let's get on next criteria, visual inspiration. I think based on Michael's comment, it's very much on point of my feeling as well. Solid 4. I think it's super slick. The work is strong. The work is very slick, cohesive, and very motivating. I think because of how systematic and the hand-drawn lettering quality about it. Sensitivity, even like different paper textures and colors to show different ideas and concepts. I think that was really well done. I think especially the idea of like what does finished lettering look like high quality finished professional work. I think this is a very good exemplar. And the graphic design approach of even the supporting sans serif or humanist typeface used with the design, I think all that was well thought out and done very well. But Michael, you can reply. You can give your rating.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you, and I'm just going to put my my hair under your head right there.
On my chin.
Yes. Yeah, I feel it was definitely solid, motivating, but also there wasn't much experimental lettering in here or boundary pushing, which I think was the purpose. And it's more based in discipline and refining edges and kind of stating the rules that you should go by when making these. And one thing that I struggled with early in making my lettering was getting those good curves, and I feel like in this book you can get that knowledge and why her letters look so good. So definitely a 4 here for me.
Matteo?
Yeah, let's dive in right here. For me, the visual inspiration that Martina builds in throughout the entire book feels such a wonderful journey visually. Like my eyes felt delighted, my creative spirit felt very full. So I'm landing myself right strongly at a 5 because I felt like there was a lot of strength in the originality of the materials that she's presenting. It's taking things from the real world, showing them to us like typography in the wild, brands, logos, and built on physical signs and spaces for storefronts, and also then elaborating on those designs and how people got there by sketching out the concept herself. And she's got this beautiful hand sketch style that she does throughout the whole thing, and she writes in and sort of like this handmade calligraphy style and just like the notes. And I really visually loved this journey of being able to go from reading the textbook, seeing the visuals, and then reading her handwriting. It felt kind of like your very personal journey with Martina. So for me, landing on a 5.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a contention about, the work is very, very professionally competent. I think if you're trying to learn about like what is professional level lettering, I think this is great work. I don't think anyone can contest that. And I think again, from a graphic design perspective, like I enjoyed reading it. It was very well paced. The pacing was excellent. I think the attention to texture with the different paper materials and the pencil sketching. Yeah, I agree. I think the reason why I didn't give it a 5, it wasn't like any of the layouts blew my socks off of like, now that's a composition, like an editorial layout composition. It's perfectly competent. It's not a dismissal. I'm just saying it's not a 5 in my opinion for those kind of reasons. But it's very competently done. So I just one note about that. Because I think also for me, visual inspiration is about like, if I was just someone reading this book, would I feel inspired to do lettering? I think that's also, because part of the polish of a great presentation is to give that inspiration for someone to say this was possible, both in terms of its presentation and page sequence and telling and giving me a visual story, but as well as the actual work itself. It's a little bit of blending of both.
Yeah, well said. You're absolutely right. Like the layouts, the page spreads, the designs themselves of each of the pages weren't anything out of this world as far as like experimental or pushing the boundary with design. But for me, the visual journey she took us on with the hand lettering and the ephemera that she brought into the book. Like she has her own, she references it in the book. She says, start building your own typographic library. And, and it's like, this is that, this book feels like a peek into personal library. So despite the pages not being anything avant-garde or like pushing the boundary, I really felt like the visuals that she provided for us and all the materials, and then you touched on the textures. There's a illustration where she shows the layers that go into designing lettering, but also, and she considers the textures and the feeling, the noise, the visual noise, paper textures, and brings those into the final composition to make it really something that's just feels like very human, right? When you look at it, and inspiring. Yeah, that I loved it. That throughout the whole time, I was like, I love these visuals.
Yeah, and I feel like these, yeah, I feel like these are the golden secrets. So it's actually one of the golden secrets is probably foundational at this point. I don't think a lot of people take the time to actually, refine their craft. And with everything the way it's kind of going, that this step is skipped over. So what does real craft look like? And I think that that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this, because it got back to the basics. I mean, most of the book is written in pencil, so it's back to it's not digitized yet. It's the pencil. I love it.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Moving on down. Practical application. Now, I think my choice of like where I put my assessment to some of the notes we said earlier, this is where I'm being a little more critical about it. I'm giving it a 2. I think because of the following reasons. One is because it demands incredible amount of who is the audience this book is meant to talk to. So this is about, if this is a beginner, this is too advanced. Like it might give them a lot of wow pow and give them set up to like walk through and do other things. But in terms of the actual training to get good in the craft, it's going to require more rudimentary training. Like that's for the beginners. Now for more advanced people, it's a very competent portfolio. And it just goes, if you're a senior and you want to know, like, what if I want to focus on lettering as a senior? I'm going to a senior, I'm going to graduate undergrad, going to go to grad school or start working, and I want a competent demonstration of what is good quality work. This is good. I think it's very good for that. And I do think, but then here's the thing. And then the other half about professional development, again, it's like, I feel like it's a compression of too many ideas into one book, because you got professional development, which again, I don't dismiss having it be there. Like it's good, but it's super short, right? So it's an issue of, because the choice was to cover so much ground, it caused a problem of it's for everybody for no one. That's my personal. So thus, some of the practical application, it's gonna be a very good hit. Like it's a good first pass, but it's not one of those books you're going to go back and read multiple times. Personal opinion. I think you're going to go to other books for more thorough points. But I think it's a good, I think kind of its broadness of topic was a little bit of a liability slightly in terms of what it's trying to do. Because the golden secrets of lettering, there's the craft aspect. That's what we've been talking about. Do you notice none of us talked about the professional development side, which is the later half of the book? That's why I'm pointing this out as well. That's all for me. Michael.
Yes. So I actually think, and this is why we're doing this show, is this is one of the strengths of this book, in my opinion, and I'm going to give it a 5. And it's for the reason that if you read this book, you're going to get better, and you're going to know the rules of lettering that are going to make you better. Usefulness for teaching. Now, as a educator myself, this would be a hard book to teach, because it would take a lot of refinement, probably a lot of time. But for professional practice, I think that anybody that I know that I've worked with would enjoy this book and benefit from it. Matheo, you're next.
Yeah, really great points you made. For me, the practical application, I want to say I'm landing around a 4.5 over here, because there was some concepts that were introduced throughout the book that were extremely helpful, because it's introducing me to certain words and terminology that I didn't know before. The calligraphy, there's a step-by-step, and the layering process is really good. I felt like I could follow along with what Martina was trying to share with us as an audience member. I will say this because I have, the background in graphic design and studying design topics for 5+ years, 7+ years now. So I had a ton of pre-existing knowledge to lean on that helped me put this into practice for myself when I wanted to. And I feel like, yeah, if a beginner brand new was to pick this up, the book would just be a good overview, but maybe overwhelming, because now there's a lot of concepts that might have gone over their head at this point in time. So for practical application, 4.5.
Okay, so obviously we have some disagreements here. That's some fun times. Let's see. I don't disagree with the general, like, there's valuable information in it, and I'm not dismissing that. I think definitely there is. I think, and I'm pretty sure I agree with Michael's point about teaching this. I can't use this book for teaching, because that's not really its purpose. Profession, and I'm still standing strong in my stance that I don't think it needs the professional development side. I appreciate it being there, but I don't think that's where the value of this book is. The value of this book is the first half, in my opinion. The second half, well, I appreciate it, and it's useful to have. Also, keep in mind it's her personal experience and background. Nothing wrong with that. Versus what you're getting in the first half is basically the compression of like all her training, because she went to the Royal Academy in The Hague, for example. She has lettering practice as well in addition to that. So she actually has a lot of synthesis happening, information in there. So I still stand on that point, but I'm sympathetic to your positions on this. Flor.
Hey, go for it.
Yeah, no, Thomas, when you said that it's a book that you'll read through and you won't go back to, I kind of felt that way as well. It feels like, but it's also the reading is very light. There's a lot of imagery, there's a lot of beauty, there's a lot of big spread letter pages. So it's definitely not a heavy read. It's a fast read. It's quick. The concepts don't go too deep, so you stay pretty surface level throughout the whole book. The pacing of the book feels nice and easy breezy. And then the application side, though, there's just some areas where I just wish there was more. I think Martina probably tried to provide that through the website, and the website's a living thing, so she could always go in and add more things for you to download and additional resources. So I think that was a really strong way to set up the book. But yeah, coming from your stance as a professor and Michael's stance to say we need to teach, like, can someone pick this book up and start learning right now? I feel like, maybe not without already knowing the principles and the basics of, graphic design and layout and typography, and then picking this up and being like, okay, now let's expand what you know. So yeah, if you're a graphic designer and you've been at it for a while, I think this book will definitely help you and be useful for you.
Yeah. And I think that leans into my point that this is the golden secret. So it's like you would have to have that foundational knowledge.
There you go.
These are the toppers. Like what makes regular typography or lettering in this case, what makes it great, and it's those little details.
Excellent. Good times. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. That's why the rating system is really fun. All right. So our second to last one is typographic insight. So I'm going to jump in. And again, and I think it's an issue of who, like, my background and training. It's getting it. Here's the reason why it's getting it too, which might seem a little ridiculous, like considering the fact that there's so much information. It's not that the information is not good. It's that because I've read so many books in type design, typography, this is like 5-10 books compressed into one book. So that's an issue of, I already read these books before. So as a result, like, this information is not new because I read it in other books. So for example, The Stroke by Harry Nardzi, for example, it's explicitly cited. Like, this work, the knowledge base is being cited in Martina's book, but I already read The Stroke, for example. It was out of print for a long time, and it got reprinted about 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's around, and etc. There's other books too, or concepts that there are books that you are primary sources. And Martina does have a citation section. She does. So it's in the back. So it's not like she's not showing you where information is coming from, but it's a solid survey of conventions, but doesn't necessarily interrogate typographic problems or push theory. It's a solid survey of the canon of letter form books from the past. I would say past 30 years, 20 to 30 years, I would say. So this is not a charge of not having knowledge. It's just a matter of it's not innovative knowledge or not knowledge that you could not have read from other books. So I think this is a very important aspect of where you are in your educational career in letter forms, especially. Michael.
Yes. Now, I love this because all of these insights are really interesting, and I never even considered that you have probably read 100 at minimum books about this. For me, this is a 4, and I feel that it's leaning more towards lettering craft rather than typographic or deep typographic theory or typeface design systems. So you're right. It's a very interesting, and you're giving me a lot of moments for pause here, where I was going with it, because I'm also thinking of other people, maybe beginners and also experienced people. But yeah, this is actually very good food for thought. I love this discussion. Matteo, you're next.
Yeah, let me dive in over here. Let's see. So on Typographic Insight, because I have not read a lot of typography books, I rated it a 5 because I really love Martina's way of explaining that it feels very simple and basic and not too overly complicated or esoteric. Some other books that I did try to read or have it consumed, it's like, okay, my brain feels like it hurts after a while. So I think Martina's approach to this being so like quick and fast paced of a read, she still covers a lot of ground sort of typographically, and she says there's so many moments I highlight, and one of the things I highlight is, if you understand typographic forms and letter form making in calligraphy and hand lettering and for type design, then that will help you and make improvements in all of the ways that you express letter forms and truly all the ways you design. So for me, I'm landing at a 5 here.
Good time. Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. The issue is the idea of contemporary books, right, relative to the history of letter forms and typography. I think this is a fair disagreement based on these points. I think also what Michael brought up too is that, and that's fair, is like there's always this issue of letter form versus typography versus lettering, right, versus type design. So it's like the pool, because Type Thursday, right, because the language of type, it is the more general letter form logic that we're thinking about here at Type Thursday. So it covers those universes, and they are distinct from each other, but they have overlap too. So when I think it is fair to say, I think Michael's comment is fair to point out that typographic insight is meant to be the more general, at least it kind of gives a sense of like, does it mean just type only, or is the more general point? Martina's book has both, in my opinion. I think it's actually quite fair. There's a lot of them that is typographic oriented, even if it is about lettering, because they are related. The particularities are nuanced and different, but the overall strokes are very similar. That's fun. Okay. Anyone else want to start?
Hitting us with a little type fun at the end. I love it. I like that you opened up the conversation about like how are we using the word like typographic and typographic insight, because it's for me it's pretty broad in this book because she covers such a broad range, and thinking of how we want to look at other books in our careers as designers, their type is talked about in a lot of different ways. But what I noticed in my schooling was it was also overlooked in a lot of ways. It's like, okay, here's the basics of design, but like we never got too far into typography or letter forms or calligraphy. And when I discovered it through Type Thursday, this community of people who are so excited about letter forms, meeting up and sharing ideas and hearing the way that people have like this massive like just reference of material, I was like, I'm hooked. You know, this is the piece of part of design that I felt like I was missing in school, is this like niche knowledge and understanding of typographic insights that was coming out in the rooms. And picking up this book, I feel like absolutely, like it's giving me the keywords, the vocabulary, differentiating and she illustrates by hand, you know, and you see that in her handwriting, like all these different sort of terms that you hear or may not have heard, and you see it right away. It makes clear sense the way that Martina's done it. So
yeah. And as someone who grew up on cursive, and I hear that, you know, cursive is dying out, and just even handwriting, you know, how people communicate, you know, it's kind of refreshing to see, you know, these types of refinements or books that kind of obsess on the refinements and how we can improve the letter forms. I mean, this book is made for Type Thursday. It's for the people that want to make better letter forms, and someone like myself who loves branding and typography, and, you know, just, you know, the other artists that I see, it's like I want to make stuff like them. This book actually bridges that gap.
Okay, last category. Overall impact. Yeah, and this is I was the most harsh on this one. I gave it a 1, and I'll tell you why. The reason why, it's a historical document of 2010's lettering culture, and that's valuable. There's nothing wrong with it. If that's what you're concerned about, that's fine. But it's because it's a historical document, I think it's great. As a guide of contemporary conditions, it doesn't advance the field so much as preserve the moment that we're in. Meaning, the emphasis of the kind of lettering culture that's being discussed and the work being shown is very much what was the kind of work we did in the 2010s and maybe 2020s. So I think that in terms of, and I think my note before, I said before, is that this is the kind of book you read, you go through a weekend, and you probably return back to the library, right? Or you give it to a friend. It's not the kind of book that you're going to come back to multiple times in your career, because there's just these hidden gems that really you missed, you need to come back to. You should. I think it's not. I think especially if you're first coming into it, there is a lot of information you could. But I'm just being honest in terms of, I think, how people really would treat this book. It's a great historical document, extremely polished, very professional work. It's a portfolio booklet. It's great for those purposes. But the question of this category is about, how is this impacting the industry? Is people going to go back, or people going to be citing this book in their professional development and thinking through their design projects, for example? And I don't think so. Personal opinion. It's not disparate of its quality as a book, but just in this criteria of impact, I do think if I'm holding it to a standard, I have to be honest with my ratings. That's what I got. So, Michael.
Yes. Well, your insights are so amazing, because, well, you named a reason why I'm giving it a 4.5, is because during that time period that you spoke about was when I decided to take my lettering to the next level. And I had been, you know, influenced by everybody from David Carson to Fred Woodward. You know, there's so many lettering artists. I would get Entertainment Weekly just because of the title treatments they would use in their articles, and super influenced by it. And about that time, I knew that my lettering wasn't up to par. So I actually made an invested interest in following these people, learning more. And it was right that sweet spot. So this is probably why I resonate with this book so much, is because during that time, that's what led me to Type Ed. That's what led me to Type Thursday. And my career, I shouldn't say my career flourished from there, but it actually, I felt like a better artist and a better lettering artist and a better person that could look at typography and letter forms.
That's awesome, Michael. I really love the sort of feelings that you're sharing there. For me, I'm overall impact and lasting relevance on the design field. I think it is a great capture of the moment and of all the styles that Martina put together. It feels like you get a nice overview. It feels like there's a lot of materials that she's referencing in there that you can look back on and sort of get inspired by. So I feel like it's definitely, it hit for me, like the overall impact on this book. I'm like, it's worth it. Like, I love it. I think you have to be, have a foundation in your design career on other knowledge, but then this can be a tool for you to sort of boost that and get more experience in the lettering side of it, and go deeper into that practice.
Excellent. All right. Well, there you go. We went through our first review session together. I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of great insights from it. So obviously, please pick up the book if you're interested in the topic. I think it'd be great for you to share your reviews or ratings about it via our Slack channel, perhaps, or on our comments, one or the other. So we're going to transition now over into our fun segment. Basically, we're kind of like, we did this review, high stakes, high drama. We're going to calm this down now with a icebreaker moment of a wild card prompt. So we gathered a bunch of random prompts. Michael, if you do us the honor.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to do this?
Woo! Spin. This is, I love it.
Yes! I'm so glad we got it. Okay, designer, living or dead. Okay, I don't know if he's watching right now, but shout outs to Harant of Type Thursday Los Angeles fame. He would hate this book, and I'll tell you explicitly why. Because he has an agenda against what he calls the calligraphy agenda, the writing agenda, mafia, where this is basically this Harriet Nordside and this Royal Academy. Like he's most known from being the teach instructor of that program. He wrote a book called The Stroke, and it gave an account of letters being writing made from instruments that have a diameter, a geometric space, and that's how contrast gets rendered, etc. And he has the whole logic. Harand is of a school called Notan. So to say, instead of constructed by instrument of a black construct shape, it's the negative space absences that make letter forms. So that's Martina is of that tradition of the Nordside model, right? Explicitly, she goes over the accounts like that in the book, gives you the pointed pen and the broadened pen model, things like that. So I know Harant would have issues with it because of that, but he has issues with almost all type designers who are trained under that tradition. So Harant, I love you. I thought of you. Anyways.
Oh, that is too funny. Matteo, go for it.
Well, as Thomas was mentioning Harant, I was thinking of Chrislam. I think Chrislam Chin would love this book. Chrislam Chin was a former Type Thursday LA chapter lead. She's the person who pulled me in as a chapter lead, and her brush and lettering and hand lettering was always something that inspired me, because like she could sit there and just make something by hand, and I was like, whoa, you did this by hand? It's beautiful. And she was the first person to inspire me to sort of like experiment more with hand lettering, and she even gifted me a book that was like different styles and stuff. And so for me, I thought, okay, Chris, you would love this. Yeah, thinking of you. Definitely check it out if you haven't read it yet.
Nice.
Michael, any thoughts?
So because we had these before, I was trying to like kind of put in my head who am I thinking about? And I just got some books recently where I saw some designers, and there was a man named Massimo Vignelli, an Italian designer. And for those who don't know, he was active in graphic design, industrial design, furniture, architecture. But he believed in mastery before style. And that's all. When I was reading this, I'm just like, I have to remember that, and especially somebody who like, I had a lot of knowledge and a lot of enthusiasm, but I had to step back and actually, do the repetitions of making, simpler letter forms, simpler curves, simpler things, and actually looking back on my work before that, it was scattered, and it was, I was trying to add to it when actually taking away from it actually made it so much more refined. And I see the simplicity of things now. And I like it. I like my work a lot better now, only because I feel like I'm on path. And this book, really resonated with me because of that.
Excellent. Very good. All right. So with that said, we're moving on to our updates. Oh yeah, by the way, as I said, we have a Slack group for Type Thursday. Love to have you join us for the book club. Please join the QR code if you're interested. Sign in the Google form. We'll get you introduced in the Type Thursday Slack. And be sure to check out here. I'll preview now. We already nominated our next book. The next book we'll be reading next week is Logos at Last by Alan Peter. So we got we have our copies of it. We'll be reading it next week. So John, if you want to join us for the rating party, basically, I want to call it that, next Thursday, please get the book and read it through and come check out, hang out with us on Thursday evenings online. When we're not at, as you see on the screen, the Type Thursday physical events, the Type Crits, they are in Los Angeles and Phoenix right now. They're both on February 28th. Be sure to grab your early bird tickets. These QR codes will send you to their Instagram pages where you can follow and then get access to the tickets. So don't forget to check that out. Any thoughts, anything to share from our chapter leads from Type Thursday, Phoenix and Los Angeles?
Yeah, shout out to the team, Christian Doshi, graphic designer of this month's Identity. Every month we get a new designer and I do the creative direction with them, give them the brand book, and then we push their ideas. So we're always looking for new volunteers. If you want to volunteer for your Phoenix chapter or for your LA chapter, just message us on Instagram, shoot us a DM, or check us out. You can follow us here with the QR codes and kind of see what we're up to every single month. And yeah, I'm super excited. We'll see you guys on February 26th at Typecraft. Thanks, David Mays, our friend over there, and Typecraft for hosting Type Thursday. Michael?
Yeah, we're at Dialogue in downtown Phoenix. We had our biggest attendance last month, and looking to exceed that. And it was, as much as we love Dialogue, we may have to go to a bigger place the way that we're growing. We're growing so fast. So again, I feel like Phoenix, Arizona in general needed this, and I'm so excited about the small growth that we've had, but we've really burst this year. So please join us on the 26th of February.
Oh, great. Well, everybody, this has been our first book club. It's been really fun, really energized, really enjoyed this. So don't forget, so every Thursday when we're not at Type Thursday physical events at Type Crits, we will be here doing book clubs. Our next one is Logos at Last by Alan Peter. We'll be here on Thursdays at the same time. Be sure to grab the book, join us on Slack, join us on Instagram and on our social media accounts. And Matteo, Michael, it's been a pleasure spending this afternoon with you.
Love it. Love it. See you next time.
See you next time, guys.
Take care.